Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well. All right. So right now I wanted to bring you something that is uh, tactics, I guess I would use the word, that were used in our past. These are tactics used by agencies and groups, etc., that I think you will find a common theme in today. So what I want to do is I want to jump into this, but I want you to pay attention. Because as I go through this, you should be thinking about current events that you've seen. And it doesn't have to just be this week. I mean, it could be in the past year, go back 5 years, whatever you'd like. And then I want to give everybody a challenge. I want you to go, and when you look at new events that are going on or updates on events that are happening, remember this. Go back to this if you have to. I always provide you with the links. So you should be able to always go back, grab the link, bookmark it. That way in the future, if you want to reference it, you can. But by all means, don't only use the sources I give you. There are many sources out there, and you need to learn to discern for yourself which are the ones that are giving you facts and evidence, and which are the ones that are giving you fluff, because that's pretty much what it comes down to. And fluff means um, a source of a source said, no. Okay. I get on sensitive matters, people cannot always tell their source, and that's okay. You never want to endanger someone who has trusted you with information, but you need to make sure that the people you're talking to trust you with the information you're giving out. And the way that you do that is you always provide evidence. Okay. So let's hop over real quick. Now, I know a lot of people. Wikipedia, Wikipedia. Oh my goodness. Yes, I know. I know how it works. I know what it is. But for this demonstration right now, I think it is a good source to use. And from this is where I want you to go look into things. Okay. And then when you do, use critical thinking, use common sense, always use more than one source. So let's get into this real quick and what I want to talk to you about. This item, as you can see here, is called COINTELPRO. All right. And I'm going to read some of this to you. COINTELPRO is from a counterintelligence program from 1956 to 1971, according to Wikipedia here. It was a series of covert and illegal projects conducted by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting domestic American political organizations. FBI records show COINTELPRO resources targeted groups and individuals the FBI deemed subversive, I'm sorry, including feminist organizations at the time, Communist Party USA at the time, anti-Vietnam War organizers, activists of civil rights movement, and Black Power movement. Example, Martin Luther King Jr., the Nation of Islam, and the Black Panther Party at the time. Environmentalists and animal rights organizations, the American Indian Movement, AIM, independence movements, including Puerto Rican independence groups such as the Young Lords and the Puerto Rican Socialist Party, a variety of organizations that were part of the broader New Left, as they called it, and unrelated groups such as the Ku Klux Klan, KKK. In 1971, in San Diego, the FBI financed, armed, and controlled an extreme right-wing group of former members of the Minutemen and a communist paramilitary organization, transforming it into a group called the Secret Army Organization that targeted groups, activists, and leaders involved in the anti war movement, using both intimidation and violent acts. The FBI has used covert operations against domestic political groups since its inception. However, covert operations under the official COINTELPRO label took place between 1956 and 1971. COINTELPRO tactics are still used to this day and have been alleged to include discrediting targets through psychological warfare, smearing individuals and groups using forged documents, and by planting false reports in the media, harassment, wrongful imprisonment, and illegal violence, including assassinations. According to a Senate report, the FBI's motivation was protecting national security, preventing violence, and maintaining the existing social and political order. Beginning in 1969, leaders of the Black Panther Party were targeted by the COINTELPRO and neutralized by being assassinated, imprisoned, publicly humiliated, or falsely charged with crimes. Some of the Black Panthers targeted included Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, Zaid Shakur, Geronimo Pratt, Mumia Abu-Jamal, and Marshall Conway. Common tactics used by COINTELPRO were perjury, witness harassment, witness intimidation, and withholding of exculpatory evidence. At the time, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover issued directives governing COINTELPRO, ordered FBI agents to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of these movements and especially their leaders. Under Hoover, the agent in charge of COINTELPRO was William C. Sullivan. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy personally authorized some of the programs, giving written approval for limited wiretapping of Martin Luther King's phones on a trial basis for a month or so. Hoover extended the clearance so his men were unshackled to look for evidence in any area of King's life they deemed worthy. Okay, so I'm going to stop there just for a second. Um, I just wanted to point out a couple things to you. Hopefully, based on that, some of it will light a little light bulb, you know? Um, excuse me. I don't really think that this has ended. It may be called another name now. I don't know. I have no evidence or anything like that. But, you know, the tactics are still the same. You can put whatever name on it you want. So let me get into this a little bit more with you here. Centralized operations under COINTELPRO officially began in August 1956 with a program designed to increase factionalism. Hold on one second. Let me get you over there so you can read with me. I'll start that over. Centralized operations under COINTELPRO officially began in August 1956 with a program designed to increase factionalism, cause disruption, and win defections inside the Communist Party USA, which was called CPUSA. Tactics included anonymous phone calls, Internal Revenue Service (IRS) audits, and the creation of documents that would divide the American Communist Organization internally. An October 1956 memo from Hoover reclassified the FBI's ongoing surveillance of Black leaders, including it within COINTELPRO, with the jurisdiction that the movement was infiltrated by communists. In 1956, Hoover sent an open letter denouncing Dr. T.R.M. Howard, a civil rights leader, surgeon, and wealthy entrepreneur in Mississippi who had criticized FBI inaction in solving recent murders of George W. Lee, Emmett Till, and other African Americans in the South. When the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, an African American civil rights organization, was founded in 1957, the FBI began to monitor and target the group almost immediately, focusing particularly on Bayard Rustin, Stanley Levison, and eventually Martin Luther King Jr. After the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Hoover singled out King as a major target for COINTELPRO. Under pressure from Hoover to focus on King, Sullivan wrote, "In the light of King's powerful, demagogic speech, we must mark him now, if we have not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro, and national security." I'm only reading what is here. I mean, no disrespect. Okay, so those are his words. Soon after, the FBI was systematically bugging King's home and his hotel rooms, as they were now aware that King was growing in stature daily as the most prominent leader of the civil rights movement. In the mid-1960s, King began to publicly criticize the Bureau for giving insufficient attention to the use of terrorism by white supremacists. Hoover responded by publicly calling King the most notorious liar in the United States. In his 1991 memoir, Washington Post journalist Carl Rowan asserted that the FBI had sent at least one anonymous letter to King encouraging him to commit suicide. Historian Taylor Branch documents an anonymous November 21st, 1964 suicide package sent by the FBI that contained audio recordings obtained through tapping King's phone, and placing bugs throughout various hotel rooms over the past 2 years. And that was created 2 days after the announcement of King's impending Nobel Peace Prize. The tape, which was prepared by FBI audio technician John Mater, documented a series of King's sexual indiscretions combined with a letter telling him, "There is only one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation." Nice guy, huh? King was subsequently informed that the audio would be released to the media if he did not acquiesce and commit suicide prior to accepting his Nobel Peace Prize. When King refused to satisfy their coercion tactics, FBI Associate Director Cartha D. Deloche commenced a media campaign offering the surveillance transcript to various news organizations, including Newsweek and Newsday. And even by 1969, as has been noted elsewhere, FBI efforts to expose Martin Luther King Jr. had not slackened even though King had been dead for a year. The Bureau furnished ammunition to opponents that enabled attacks on King's memory and tried to block efforts to honor the slain leader. Nice, huh? That's integrity, huh? Anyway, during the same period, the program also targeted Malcolm X. While an FBI spokesman has denied that the FBI was directly involved in Malcolm's murder in 1965, it is documented that the Bureau worked to widen the rift between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad through infiltration and the sparking of acrimonious debates within the organization, rumor mongering, and other tactics designed to foster internal disputes, which ultimately led to Malcolm's assassination. The FBI heavily infiltrated Malcolm's Organization of Afro American Unity in the final months of his life. The Pulitzer Prize winning biography of Malcolm X by Manning Marable asserts that most of the men who plotted Malcolm's assassination were never apprehended, and that the full extent of the FBI's involvement in his death cannot be known. Amidst the urban unrest of July through August 1967, the FBI began COINTELPRO Black Hate, which focused on King and the SCLC, as well as the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Revolutionary Action Movement, the Deacons for Defense and Justice, Congress of Racial Equality, and the Nation of Islam. Black Hate established the Ghetto Informant Program and instructed 23 FBI offices to disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of Black nationalist hate-type organizations. A March 1968 memo stated the program's goal was to prevent the coalition of militant Black nationalist groups to prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify the militant Black nationalist movement, to pinpoint potential troublemakers, and to neutralize them before they exercise their potential for violence against authorities, to prevent militant Black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them, both the responsible community and to the liberals who have vestiges of sympathy, and to prevent the long range growth of militant Black organizations, especially among youth. Dr. King was said to have potential to be the Messiah figure should he abandon nonviolence and integrationism. And Stokely Carmichael was noted to have the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way, as he was portrayed as someone who espoused a much more militant vision of Black power. While the FBI was particularly concerned with leaders and organizers, they did not limit their scope of target to the heads of organizations. Individuals such as writers were also listed among the targets of operations. The program coincided with a broader federal effort to prepare military responses for urban riots and began increased collaboration between the FBI, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, and the Department of Defense. The CIA launched its own domestic espionage project in 1967 called Operation Chaos. A particular target was the Poor People's Campaign, a national effort organized by King and the SCLC to occupy Washington, D.C. The FBI monitored and disrupted the campaign on a national level while using targeted smear tactics locally to undermine support for the march. Excuse me. The Black Panther Party was another targeted organization wherein the FBI collaborated to destroy the party from the inside out. Overall, COINTELPRO encompassed disruption and sabotage of the Socialist Workers' Party, 1961, the KKK, 1964, the Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party, 1967, and the entire new left social political movement, which included anti-war, community, and religious groups in 1968. A later investigation by the Senate's Church Committee stated that the COINTELPRO began in 1956 in part of frustration with Supreme Court rulings limiting the government's power to proceed overtly against dissident groups. Official congressional committees and several court cases have concluded that COINTELPRO operations against communist and socialist groups exceeded statutory limits on FBI activity and violated constitutional guarantees of freedom of speech and association. Okay. So obviously, I'm hoping you can see there's a common theme here, and there's common tactics that I think are still in play today. That's my opinion. You make your own opinion. Um, I always give you the link. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat real quick, the link to this, so you can start here. But it's a good start. Take a look for yourself. Look at what your government's doing. These institutions have a lot of power. That is not the way our country was set up on our Constitution. So I think this is extremely important for everyone. Even if you think you know it already, go back and look. Look at the tactics. Look at the ways that they used their power. These are all things, number one, we need to address. Okay? Because these are the very people that you're supposed to trust. You know, we give them power to keep us safe. We do not give them power to take our rights away and claim our rights as their power, if that makes sense to you. So there are several more items in this article. I've given you the link. I know, again, I know the source here that I'm giving you is Wikipedia, but, you know, there's truth in everything. And we need to open our eyes to what is really going on around us. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you're libertarian. It doesn't matter. These are tactics that were used in this operation that it appears never ended. Now, that's my opinion. I have gone and looked into it for myself. I have evidence of it, but not evidence you can take to court. So you need to go find the answer for yourself. And I'm hoping that I'm helping you with that. You know, if you ever hear the term people go down rabbit holes, what that is a rabbit hole. All it is mean you're researching stuff. You're finding truths for yourself. You know, there's a lot, a lot, a lot our country has lied to us about. Our government has lied to us about. And not all of them are bad, okay? You know, we have got to stop labeling stuff. And I'm going to use a term and I'm probably going to kick myself for it. But the left loves to label. They group people in these little labels and these little groups. No. We are all equally created. Period. No one above another. So we are all blessed with our own blessings, and God created each of us for a specific reason. Some of us know what it is, some of us don't. It's okay. And with that, I want you to go dig into this more. Please comment. Please tell me, shoot me an email. You can, put it in the comments, whatever. I want to know what you think. This is probably still going on under another name right now. So it goes deep. But we cannot move our country forward and fix our country until people wake up to, there's a lot wrong in this world. Hello. And, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance will only hurt you. So look into this, comment. I'll be covering more stuff that I want you to go look for yourself. I'll also be doing some other stuff that'll be a little bit more in depth for you. I know everybody's busy. Everybody has a job. Everybody has family. I mean, I get it. But if you're one of the ones that don't think that our agencies, our government is working against us, you're wrong. Not all of them are. But there's a pattern here. There's a history here. We can see that it's still happening today. And we need to fix it. So we will. But please wake up. This is not a political issue. This is an American issue. There are bad people doing bad things. We need it to end. We need this to stop. So do your research, think for yourself, use common sense, and always trust God and your gut. I love you all. I'll be back here in a little bit. Please, again, click the link, bookmark it if you can't look into it right now. But go look into what our agencies have been doing for many, many years. It hasn't ended, and it needs to. God bless you all. I love each and every one of you. See you in a little bit.